Hey everybody, I'm Mike, this is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are watching the Right of the People single shot, where it's you, me, and whatever stripped my trigger today. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Hey everybody, it's Monday, November 9th, 2020, and this is a Right of the People single shot. Got one topic to talk about today, as you can guess what it is from the title and the thumbnail and all that good stuff. We'll get into that here in a minute, but before we start, I want to say, hey, in about a half an hour, Daily Gun Show starts. If you want to go talk about guns and gun history and 9mm versus 45 and lever action versus bolt action and whatever else G-Webs is up to, go on over to the Daily Gun Show and talk about that kind of stuff. Because I talk about Second Amendment news, current events, and politics. So, yeah, stick around if you want to talk about that. But head on over to DGS if you want to actually talk about guns. So, now that I've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and welcome my esteemed panel. We got the Tactical Pickle himself, Calaveras 32 Special. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine, Budget. Appreciate the invite. You know, kind of interesting being on you on a Monday instead of a Friday.
Yeah, well, every once in a while I'll throw a monkey wrench into everyone's plans and do this when something comes up that I feel I need to come talk about, and I actually have the time to talk about. It's pretty rare, though. Normally, my days off are either Saturday, Sunday, and then the next week, because for me a week runs Thursday to Wednesday. It's really weird. Anyhow, my next week is Friday, Monday. So this happens to be my Friday, Monday week. So yeah, crazy. Anyhow, here with us with his tactical salmon polo is the irascible yet lovable Squibload.
Coming to you live from Michigan, where voter fraud happens, but only in a few choice places.
And Gabriel says there's a tribble hiding behind my spit guard. It does look like a tribble, doesn't it?
They'll multiply.
Yes, they will. That's the trouble with tribbles, right? Out there in the chat, by the way, we have Gunpowder Beauty DM Foss Grim 90. The Poor Conservative is like Monday night with budget. And Gabriel, Seven Wonders in the house. Let's see who else is out there. Travis T is there at Alaskan Ballistics. Pancake Boy, he said, I stole moron of the week. Go ahead, use it. I don't care. Arlene Alvarez dropping in. Midnight Range says, if Rittenhouse catches gun charges, the dude with the Glock better too. Vaporized bicep or not. Well, it isn't written charges. Let's go ahead and get into the topic. Pardon me. Amateur hour, drinking carbonated beverages again. This is a piece from the Daily Caller from today. Man charged with 2 felonies for giving 17-year-old Kenosha gunman weapon used in fatal shootings. By Marlo Safi from November 9th, 2020 at 8:23 p.m. A Wisconsin man was charged with 2 felonies after giving the 17-year-old accused of killing 2 people during a riot in Kenosha a gun, numerous sources reported. Dominic Black, 19, was charged with 2 counts of intentionally giving a dangerous weapon to a person under the age of 18, causing death, according to NBC5. Black allegedly gave Kyle Rittenhouse, who was not legally able to purchase a firearm, a rifle that he purchased with Rittenhouse's money. The criminal complaint from Kenosha County District Attorney reportedly says. Black purchased the rifle on May 1st from Ladysmith Ace Home Center. The two reportedly agreed that the gun would be stored at Black's stepfather's house in Kenosha because Rittenhouse did not have proper firearm identification documents. Remember, he's from Illinois, and in Illinois you have to have a FOID card, which Kyle would never be able to get, being 17 years old. During riots that followed the police shooting of Jacob Blake by Kenosha police, Black and Rittenhouse volunteered to protect the business and went to Black's stepfather's home, where Black gave Rittenhouse the gun. Later in the night, Rittenhouse shot and killed 2 men, Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, and injured another man, Gage Grosskreutz. Rittenhouse is facing 6 charges from the shooting, including first-degree intentional homicide and attempted intentional homicide. Rittenhouse made his first court appearance November 2nd, where he was deemed a flight risk and held on $2 million cash bail. Oh, so it's not even a 10% bond, it's $2 million cash bail. Can you say excessive, anyone? Video showed Rittenhouse trying to surrender to Kenosha authorities after the shootings in August. He turned himself in to police in Antioch the day after the shootings. Rittenhouse's attorneys argued he was acting in self-defense. Video from the incident shows a group of people chasing after Rittenhouse, someone other than Rittenhouse firing a shot in the air, and then Rittenhouse turning around and shooting one of the men chasing him. As Rittenhouse fled from the scene of the first shooting, he tripped and was set upon by several other individuals who were chasing him, videos show. Rittenhouse shot 2 of the men as they lunged at him while he was on the ground, according to video from the scene. All 3 of the shooting victims were convicted criminals with crimes ranging from sexual conduct with a minor to felony strangulation, court documents reviewed by the Daily Caller News Foundation show. So, the gentleman that provided Kyle with his firearm ended up facing charges. I suspect that once these state charges are dealt with, he'll also face a felony straw purchase charge from the feds. And that's a doozy of a charge right there.
That's right. I don't know if you can see the chat or not, but Clover, I think, asked a good question just before you get too deep into the article. Is how can you be charged for giving someone under 18 a firearm and at the same time that individual be charged as an adult?
Yeah, that is a good question. Understand, the law doesn't have to make sense, unfortunately.
Yeah, my answer to him was politics.
Yep. Let's see who else has hopped in. Ozzy Osbourne's barking at us. Let's see. The aforementioned Clovertack is making an appearance. He must have stepped off of his rainbow and left his pot of gold unguarded. Warsaw Patriots in the house. Cherry City Guns and Ammo. That's a new one. Welcome to the show. All right, yeah, so pretty much everyone's of the same thing. Like, hey, how does this ever stop? How in the world is this happening? Rittenhouse did the world a favor. Warsaw asked, was it a straw purchase? That's what it sounds like. It sounds like it was a straw purchase. Because the article says he's alleged to have bought the rifle using Rittenhouse's money for Rittenhouse, which is kind of the definition of a straw purchase. If that's the case, he broke the law. I mean, he broke the law. He should not have done that. Obviously. Allegedly. But here's my question to you guys. Does the fact that that Black illegally, allegedly, bought the firearm for Kyle, does that negate his defense of self-defense? Discuss.
I would say
does it invalidate self-defense?
I would say regardless of how you got the weapon, whether someone bought it for you, it was on loan or whatever else. I mean, it wouldn't negate self-defense because you're being attacked by a mob you've been shot at. I mean, in theory, he could have protected himself with a bat, a knife, or anything else, and it still would qualify as defense with a weapon. Regardless of how you regardless of what weapon it is or how you got it. It's the straw purchase, illegal weapon, this kind of stuff is entirely separate, a legal point as far as I know.
Squib, what do you think?
I think I can't get to the mute button fast enough. Okay, here's the thing. This guy who bought it for him with his money, why the hell did he say anything? When they say, all right, you provided it to him. Yep. So you bought it. Yep. Is it yours? Yep.
Exactly.
Did you pay for it with your money? Well, how the hell else did I pay for it? Yep. You're going to face charges either way if they want to come up with this. This almost sounds made up as far as the name of the charge, but you're going to face charges either way. So why would you, unless they offered him some plea deal and he fucking, sorry.
There's one.
There's one.
And it wasn't even me, man. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. Hey, this is irritating me. This is making me irascible. No, if they went to him and they said, we'll lower the charges, lessen the charges if you admit that it was a straw purchase, because they're trying to build their case against Rittenhouse. Here's the thing. Even though I don't agree with it, I think what they'll say is he asked this person to do a straw purchase for him. He provided him with the funds because he intended to use this in an unlawful manner. He wasn't allowed to have it. He convinced somebody else to break the law for him, and therefore he had intent, right? We love that word, intent. I know that sounds stupid, and I do think it's stupid. It's like the person who says don't use reloads because that means you purposely made them with the intent of killing people. Both arguments are stupid, but this is what the other side does, right? They present these stupid arguments. Although all the cases I found where reloads came up, it had to do with gunshot residue. It was forensic, not about intent. But when you talk to an expert, they'll tell you that it's intent. So I'm wondering if they put the thumbscrews to this guy to call it a straw purchase or admit it was a straw purchase. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. The responsible thing to do would be like, look, man, I'll buy this now at this cheap price, and I'll lock it in my safe, and after you turn 18, I'll transfer it to you. But he didn't do that. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's right. It sounds to me like they're trying to pigeonhole Rittenhouse, if I'm using that term correctly. And I think they're using this guy as their pick, their wedge to do it. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, and this is exactly what this is, I think. I think it is a maneuver. Let me back up. Obviously, if he intentionally bought a firearm for someone who's prohibited from having it, as someone out there in the chat said, that is the textbook definition of a straw purchase, and he should be prosecuted for it. I have no problem with that. If Kyle deliberately broke the law to get that firearm when he was a prohibited person, well, that's kind of debatable whether or not he was a prohibited person under Wisconsin law, but that's a separate issue. But they're going to try to use it to paint him as a demon. They're going to try to use it to paint him as a deliberate murderer. They're going to try to use it to paint him as a bloodthirsty savage. But the fact that he had the gun illegally, if it was in fact illegal, does not negate his right to self-defense. And that has been held up in court, where people who have had guns illegally, stolen guns, whatever, prohibited persons even, have been found not guilty of murder because of a self-defense strategy, a self-defense defense, even though they weren't allowed to have the gun, because their right to self-defense was still valid. So that's going to be the case here, I suspect. They're going to try. They're going to try, but if his lawyers are worth a shit, they'll fail at it. Or if the judge and or jury isn't tainted by politics, they'll fail at it. Of course, whether or not the judge or jury is tainted by politics is another matter entirely. We won't know that until everything comes out. Let's see. Warsaw says they should be going after the two attackers who had guns illegally and the one who was pointing a loaded handgun at Kyle. What about that? Exactly.
And see,
Midnight says it's hard to hold it against someone for telling the truth about what happened. I get it. You'd want to play dumb and say I didn't buy it with intent to give it to Kyle, but that is tough. Yeah.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Not when you're dealing with these poop bags. It's not hard to do at all. It really isn't. I mean, like I said, ideally, I could see him saying, look, if you want to get this now, while they're still available, before they go up in price, before they get banned, or because this company just went out of business and they still have new old stock on the shelf and you want new old stock, I get it. But the reasonable thing would be to do, is say, on your 18th birthday, I'll transfer it to you. I mean, seriously. But still, if he had lied, what difference would it make for him? But if he says, yeah, I did a straw purchase, there's got to be something in it for this guy. Otherwise, he's the dumbest moron in the world. And I'm not really justifying a straw purchase. I'm just saying that if he had the thing locked up until Kyle turned 18, who would know any different and who would be hurt? Nobody. But it sounds to me like they're using this. And even though I disagree with that, even though I don't think it should be legal, and even though it may not even be legal, they'll try to do it. I like your defense budget, and that is to bring up examples of when people who weren't authorized to have one had one, and they were able to.
Oh, you don't think they're going to cite precedent? They're going to cite precedent coming out the ass, because that's what lawyers do. I mean, if they have any aptitude for the job, that's what they're going to do. Speaking of lawyers, Travis T. correctly points out the only correct answer is, my attorney will provide you with a statement, and then you shut up. I will fully cooperate once I have spoken with counsel.
Midnight makes a good point, but that's for the two guys involved in this. One's 17, one's 19. There's a good chance they're under a ton of pressure by the courts and by the prosecutor, and they're probably not being given much time to really process before before they're being more or less not coerced, because they're like, okay, well, great, we've got an attorney for you, but we're going to bombard you with questions or whatnot before then to try to get you to start talking.
Yep. Not presents coming out their ass midnight. Precedent. Knucklehead. Go back to IHOP. I'm sure your shift isn't over. Go fry some eggs and flip some pancakes. Arlene says exactly. People need to shut the F up and lawyer up. That's probably a good idea when you're facing something like this. Although you're right, he may have been offered a deal. You plead to this and we'll do X, Y, and Z. So we'll see how this turns out.
Long-term,
go ahead.
Well, long-term effect is this is a black eye for the community.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They're going to use it to paint us all.
That those other guys need to be charged. You can't charge one and not charge the other. It's just, no. And I don't understand why they wouldn't work a plea deal out where they're like, look, we'll drop the charges on these shitbags and we'll drop the charges on you. Let's just make this go away. That would make the most sense and be the cheapest for the taxpayers.
Grosskreutz absolutely, positively, without any doubt, needs to be charged. He was a prohibited person in possession of a firearm. And not he's underage prohibited person. He was a prohibited person in possession of a firearm, pointing it at somebody. Of course, he got shot for it. But, he needs to face charges, and he's not. He's being touted as the victim. When really, that's bass-ackwards from what it should be. Kyle's the victim in this. He was the one who was forced to defend himself from a sexual predator chasing him. Of course, probably not for those purposes, but it still is the fact that a sexual predator chased him. He was shot at least in his mind, because he heard the gunshot, turned around, and there's this dude lunging at him. He lit him up like anybody would. Then he got out of Dodge, because everybody was coming after him. When he tripped and fell, some dude tried to kick him in the head. Some jerk-ass with a skateboard did hit him in the head. And then another guy pointed a gun at him. What are you going to do? He then calmly gets up and goes and tries to surrender. Kyle's the victim in this. Not Grosskreutz, not Huber, and damn sure not Rosenbaum. But with political prosecutions, what can you expect, folks? All right, I don't want to take really too much more time, because I actually don't want to be Quark and G here. Go on over to the Daily Gun Show to talk about guns, folks. G's been doing this longer than just about anybody. So go over there and talk guns with him here in about 10 minutes or so on the Daily Gun Show. And I'll talk to you guys on Friday on the regular episode of the right of the people. Have a good one, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.